if you're applying to law school this cycle, you picked a tough year. Sorry. Currently, as of today, it's February 6th. Applicants are up 19.7% versus this same time last year. That's a pretty huge increase. And then that increase is also particularly concentrated at the highest LSAT score bands. Applicants are about 30% up for LSAT scores between 170 and 174, and they're about 38% up for LSAT scores above 175. So that's pretty significant. This is certainly a competitive law school admission cycle, especially at these top schools with really high LSAT medians. But you might be surprised to know that this actually doesn't seem to be the most competitive law school admission cycle, even in the last 5 years. Though it is, I will say, the second most competitive law school admission cycle that my firm's CEO, Mike Spivey, has seen in over 25 years. But if you look back just a few years at specifically the 2020-2021 law school admission cycle, you will see that things were even crazier back then. By the end of that cycle, and actually I'm looking at June data, so pretty much the end of that cycle, applicants were up overall versus the prior year by almost 18%, which is pretty similar to this year. But where things get really significant is when you look at, again, those really high LSAT score bands. So looking at that data from June 2021, the end of this cycle that I'm talking about, applicants with LSAT scores between 170 and 174 were up 65% from the previous year. And then, get this, applicants with scores at 175 or above were up 128%. That was the first full admission cycle that was impacted by the pandemic, and the LSAT became, during that time period, the LSAT Flex. So it went from a 5-section test that was taken in person at your local testing center at 8 a.m. on a Saturday to being a 3-section test that you took at home virtually at a time of your choosing. And LSAC was telling both schools and applicants this whole time that the data was going to normalize, which they were saying that even past the point when it was mathematically impossible for the data to normalize. Because again, we're looking at that up 128%. It was not very far into the cycle that we could see there's no mathematical way it's possible for these numbers to normalize. It's already way above last year. So all of this is to say that things changed really rapidly that cycle. Almost everybody was in the dark and being frankly misled by this information that just wasn't accurate. And the cycle just turned out to be incredibly difficult. So yes, you are applying during a very hard cycle. There's kind of no way around that, and I'm sorry, but it's not the most competitive cycle ever.